Hi, I'm Yasmin Owusu, and this is my producer, Charlie Kesenek.
But I'm your husband, and you're using all my stuff right now. What are you talking about?
So anyway, I've been looking for a one-stop shop podcast for wellness, amateur sociology, psychology, pop culture, and whatever else sparks my interest. So I created one. We are limited to no lanes. We hit the gas and get into it. This is Peaked. Press play. Hello and welcome to Peaked Podcast. I'm Yasmin. I'm solo hosting today, and it's going to be in the cozy corner and just like yap about topics episode. It's kind of going to be one topic with subheadings. It's just kind of, there's some interesting rehashings of culture from when I was younger that I'm noticing, and then certain bits of context that I'm noticing are missing or being misconstrued by newer generations. And like, this isn't inherently bad. It happens every generation, but I just think it's interesting to kind of like pick it apart. So here goes. For context, because that's what I'm trying to provide, I'm a Xennial. So I was born in 1982, which for some weird reason I find myself bringing up I'm a Xennial a lot, but here we go again. So that would mean I'm a very young kid in the 80s, in the 90s and late 90s. I'm a preteen and a teenager. And then I graduate in 2000. And then, in the early 20s, I'm in the early and mid 2000s, I'm running around the Lower East Side, losing my ID everywhere and all that good stuff. I'll get into that like 2000s partying thing in New York City too, because it's part of this whole jam. All of this to say, yes, like everyone else, I'm noticing a lot of 90s stuff and early 2000s stuff is like cycling back into culture, which is great in many ways. What's not great is that why are we getting so skinny again? Why are we getting so skinny again? It's like the scary skinny again. And it's people who were just normal and slim in culture, just slim, fit, regular bodies are now becoming these like very skeletal bodies again. It's like, for my generation and people a little bit younger will remember the Zobots. So Rachel Zoe was a stylist in the early 2000s. And I think that's around her era, the early and mid 2000s. And she styled people like Nicole Richie and Lindsay Lohan. And a lot of these girls during that phase were getting really, really thin. And a lot of people blamed Rachel Zoe for it, but I don't think that's necessarily fair. There's also like Misha Barton was extremely skinny at the time. I could go on and on. Every starlet was like a stick with like a huge head. Like that was like the vibe. And this was also like around when Ally McBeal, the show was very popular, and Callista Flockhart was like kind of shrinking. And then everyone on that cast started like disappearing as well. Like they would start off just being like, they're actresses. So like they're always slim. Like there's not this crazy amount of body inclusivity where like, you had to be even back then, you had to be like the funny big friend if you were like anything over a size 6. But I'm just saying these girls were like a size 4 and then everyone became a 0. And that's happening again. And I know you're going to be like, oh, the semaglutides and Ozempic. I know that's what's happening. I know that's how a lot of people are doing it. I'm not that naive. I think maybe what's just more jarring is like, I didn't actually realize this was like what this many women wanted if they had such a tool. I just thought maybe Katy Perry likes the fact that she's just like a big boobs, like, I don't even want to say curvy, very slim woman, but just like she had some curves and she wasn't like skeletal or extremely thin, right? But it just seems like now that they have this tool, well, it turns out maybe everyone just does want to be stick skinny. Which is, I don't know, it's disturbing that it's coming around again. And it's coming back in tandem with like people smoking like full fat brick and mortar cowboy cigarettes again. I smoked in my late teen years and early 20s as well. I think I quit when I was like 27. I'm 43 now. So I missed the whole like vape thing. I was smoking like Marlboro Reds, like nuts. I was allowed to smoke in my college dorm. Like there was a smoking floor and I could just sit in my room and smoke cigarettes, me and my roommate, like fucking psychopaths with the windows closed in Seattle, just like taking down coffin nails. Absolutely unhinged. But yeah, so that's coming back, which is great. You kind of wonder, like, when we have things going on in the Middle East, does this like somehow match with like we all have to like waste away and smoke a bunch of cigarettes and be heroin chic? Like, what's going on there? But anyway, so that was just a bit of an aside. But when we did talk about Rachel Zoe and the fashion thing, and how she would style these really thin girls, her styling was very it was very 70s. I mean, there were some 60s elements too, but it kind of did have that disco 70s vibe to it. Like, I mean, not like Donna Summer necessarily, but like there was kind of that like Michelle Pfeiffer and Scarface kind of like vibe, like a lot of flowy, a lot of like tinsely threads and just like huge jewelry on these like skeletal wrists. And she kind of dressed everyone a bit like her, which I think is kind of normal for a stylist. But that to say, I do remember a quote when I was like a teenager from, it was a 70s rocker. I don't remember exactly who it was. Let's say it was someone like David Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash, but it wasn't necessarily him. I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to try to AI that and waste water. But I remember him saying something along the lines of kids my age, because like a lot of us, when right before the biggest burst of like grunge fashion, there was like a little spurt of like 60s and 70s emulation that was coming from kids my age, like I guess Xennials and old millennials. We were kind of wearing these like Miss 60 bell bottom jeans, and like there was like the woven kind of halter crop top thing was like, anyway, so like somewhere between dressing like chingy, so like, I don't know, a half terrible attempt at being chola and like wearing like huge pants and tiny tops and like whatever, that whole 90s R&B vibe. Between that and like super grunge, like flannel shirt kind of thing, there was this little 60s moment and 70s, probably more 70s than anything, moment. And this guy was like, they're just getting it all wrong. Like, it's like these young kids who are like trying to be cool, but they're kind of dressing in the 70s clothes that like a banker's wife would wear. So if a banker's wife was going to like go out on the town and go like dance disco, that's what that woman would wear. So I do see a little bit of that with the 90s fashion. Being a kid of the 90s, like I was a preteen and a teenager in the 90s. And I just mentioned some of our questionable eclectic choices. So I'm not saying it was all an amazing taste, but I do think sometimes the fits that I'm seeing, I'm like, wait, that wasn't like in style. It was just there, you know? Um, just because people wore a Champion sweatshirt that just says Champion on it in the 90s, it doesn't mean it was fashionable. It was just there. I mean, that was like something you get at J.C. Penney. Um, yeah, so I think thinking that stuff like that is like a vintage find is a little rough. I saw a girl on TikTok call something vintage wet seal. Vintage wet seal. I mean, you may as well say vintage Forever 21 because that's kind of interchangeable. And again, I understand this. I just mentioned the embarrassment that our generation had to have with trying to be 70s and not having context. So I'm not throwing stones in glass houses. I'm not throwing stones anywhere. I'm just pointing things out that I notice. Another one that I notice is when I see people redo 90s grunge makeup, girlies. Nobody in the 90s had a contour stick, highlighter, a 10, nobody under the age of 40 had a 10-step skin routine and had like palettes and come on. It was literally like maybe concealer, foundation, some terrible brown eyeliner that we were rubbing all over our eyes and then all over our mouths. And I don't know, maybe blush. I mean, it was very minimal, and not because we're like, oh, so chic and clean, girl. There wasn't as much, maybe there wasn't as much information. So we weren't all makeup artists. I think now that you can just like go on like online, go on Insta, go on TikTok, go on YouTube and just like look up makeup tutorials and like, you know, I guess makeup artists started doing it and then people got some skills. We had no skills. We did not know what we were doing. We were walking around looking like raccoons and using low quality products. So by the end of the day, the raccoon was raccooning. We were not highlighting. We didn't even know what to highlight. I didn't even know what that was called. I will say too, there were like two eras of makeup that were really formative for people around my age and even a little younger. One was that kind of well, maybe 3, because the chola and like kind of R&B, which has a lot of crossover. It's very like things that were going on in, say, like New York City and like East LA kind of things. There was some crossover between like the chola vibe of like hoops and like, um, thin eyebrows and like brown lipstick and like, African American women. As someone who's like African, I always feel like funny being like, yeah, well, Black people, because I don't have as much ownership as sometimes I want to act like I do, because it's dope. But of course, we all want to we all want to appropriate it, including other Black people. Um, that being said, so I will add that too. There was the very chola and like R&B Aaliyah type of makeup, and there was the grunge type of like Fiona Apple type of makeup where it's just like look like a deer and like kohl around your eyes, and then just like, I don't know, an innocent little dub of like rosy blush. And why is my face kind of looking like that's what I'm wearing right now? It's not. It's the lighting, if that's what it looks like it is. Um, I'm going for no makeup now. And I still, by the way, don't have like a 9-step makeup routine. I just think people who didn't grow up with that, it's a weird thing to graduate to. Anyway, maybe I should speak for myself. It's weird for me to graduate to. So there were those two. And then there was the JLo makeup. Like the JLo glow was like a whole phenomenon. And it wasn't like a type of makeup, it was just her. Like her makeup artist, and it was a specific makeup artist. I don't want to give JLo, nobody needs to give JLo any credit because, for her own good, it doesn't seem like feeding that delusion and ego is any good for her or anyone else. But I really don't think it should be attributed to J-Lo that she had this beautiful makeup on her all the time, because there was a period where she had a falling out with that makeup artist. Her makeup started to look kind of ashy and bad, but she had this one makeup artist, and I don't know what their name was, but had her with this like glow. I mean, and we all wanted that J-Lo glow. Like we all wanted to look like we were sweating in Miami, I guess. And I think for some of us, we kind of never got rid of that. Like I think sometimes I'm like borderline oily because I'm just like, I'm dewy. Like, and that's the J-Lo glow for you. And like 90s makeup was pretty different in that respect. I mean, we were rocking some matte, like dry, kind of elderly Charlotte Tilbury looking shit. Like if you want to know what 90s makeup looked like, that era of 90s makeup, just watch Twin Peaks, where like you're looking at teenage girls and they have makeup on like they look like they would shop at Talbot's. But it was good times. So yeah, I do notice that sometimes when I see these makeup tutorials and they're just doing all that, I'm like, the result also doesn't look right. And I'm wondering if that's why whenever I watch shows that are based in the 90s, I'm like, I don't know what's off, but something's off. Like these girls don't look like 90s girls. And maybe it's because there's highlighter and contour and whatever else. And just no one was rocking that. I mean, just look at photos from that era and like you can just see how kind of, grassrootsy and struggle it all was. Because a lot of it was stemming, like grunge was stemming from a alternative culture, right? So this is not necessarily like what you're going to be seeing in like Macy's or whatever the mainstream is. So there was that. And then obviously it's odd to me to see such young people feeling like an association with wanting to look like old money. That's not really a recurrent thing. That actually is just something that's like throwing me. I think the last thing anyone my age, when I was a kid, like that, when I was in my 20s and when I was like, a teenager, the last thing I wanted to do was look like, I don't know, like someone from Nantucket. Like, what are we talking about? You're young, you have your whole life ahead of you, and you literally want to look like you live in Palm Beach. Like, you can do that at some point, like, but just do all the fun, silly midriffy things before you decide to look like the most staid and poised, like, Kelly bag carrying, like Charlotte Tilbury makeup lady. Like, geez, like, I don't know. It just feels, I just, it seems to tie into the boomerization of Gen Z a little bit. Like, what about being like the oldest, crustiest vestige of society is like thrilling to you? And if you want to do that and you're desiring to do that, maybe do it at a more age appropriate time in your life. Like, why not just let's go back to the Euphoria vibe? Like, that was very 90s, all the glitter all over the eyes. Like, let's go back to that. That's fun. That's fresh. Old money. I mean, get the money, but maybe not the look. Like, bring some new look to the old money. Um, Other context things that I'm noticing are I don't know what indie sleaze is. Nobody who was around during that era ever heard that term. That term must have been one of those magazine articles, and it may have even come out during that time, but it definitely was not a word at the time. I was in that scene, heavily in that scene. I was in New York City in like 2001 to, whatever, to date almost. And I was very much in that like Lower East Side, Williamsburg, like Annex, Motor City, Misshapes. And before it went to Don Hills, I was at Misshapes when it was at Leroy and Lewis. So is that a barbecue place? It was like Leroy and something. But yeah, the first venue of Misshapes, my ass was there. Like, so I was all about that. We called it hipster culture. It was not cool to say I'm a hipster, but low key, that's what it was called. It was not called any kind of sleaze or any kind of whatever. Um, that word was not batted around. I'm noticing that it's like cropping up now, and people are just saying it with all this confidence. And I'm like, that was not a thing. Like, that was never a thing. And I went out every single night of the week. The only day I didn't go out was Saturday because we're too cool to go out on a Saturday, right? That's Bridge and Tunnel. But every other night of the week I was out. I would have heard that term once, I would think. About 6,000 misshapes I went to. Never once did I hear indie sleaze. But yeah, that style, I don't know that that's fully come back. I think right now the 90s style is still very much the top note, and we're really going more the 90s Gwyneth Paltrow and Carolyn Bessette Kennedy 90s minimalism. So it's like a skinny belt and a mid-rise like light wash jeans and a crisp button up and like a little Yankees hat, like whatever. Very Princess Diana, which is cute and I like it. It does kind of lend to this other side issue that has nothing to do with like my generational topics, but this little issue that I have, which is like skinny fashion, which is like, is it the clothes? And I didn't coin this. I mean, it's a discussion online, but there is this kind of fashion that is really just you're a skinny body and you're wearing a dress shirt. And it's fine. I think it actually looks really good. There's a certain way that like a loose fitting pair of like slacks or trousers or just like a nice fitting like Levi wedgie cut jean looks on like a slim body and with like a just casually draped like button up white shirt and like not much else going on, or like everyone knows the outfit of just like the button up shirt and then like the boxer short or the little runner short under it. I think it looks good. But it's not a style. It's just a skinny body with really innocuous interchangeable clothes on it. So I think we could just say those are hot people that look good. I wouldn't say this is like being a style icon if you're all wearing the same exact outfit and it's kind of nothing. But anyway, that's the area of the 90s that we seem to be like heavily on. And I haven't really seen a whole lot of like what I would consider what we were wearing in that indie sleaze era necessarily come back. If anything, it's more like later than my age where there's a lot of conflation of like, and I think actually I get frustrated that younger millennials conflate that hipster misshapes era with their scenester like hardcore era. I'll explain. So a few years younger than me, so not even like probably like 5 years younger than me, millennials had this more like knit cap, this bangs, maybe purple hair, cardigan, the turn their feet in this way in photographs. it's always with this face. So very Fallout Boy, very like hardcore music, like a Yellow Card, like whatever like that vibe is. That's kind of how those kids were dressing. That's not the same as like what indie sleaze was. I'm sure there's like some overlap because again, it's like these little micro generations. There's things we both did. We both wore Oxford shoes to the club. Both wore Oxford shoes to the club. And I definitely did have that little weird peplum business casual thing kind of creep into my hipsterdom. And yeah, I mean, there's equally bad things. There's good people on both sides. But they are different. And I think somehow history is not separating them in a way that satisfies me. I had no interest. I was way too old to get into bad music by that point, right? So if you're 22, you're not going to suddenly be like, I'm dying for Fall Out Boy. You know what I mean? Like I listened to really bad music when I was like 17 or 16 or 15 or whatever. But I'm not going to be like losing my mind for something like that when I'm in my 20s. So I think, there's like a separation there that bears noting. Yeah, we seem to be getting lost in history, being called something weird that none of us ever called ourselves. And then also being conflated with a very side bang situation that I can't relate to. And yeah, that whole era of just, I mean, it wasn't just in New York City. That was just like my context of it. I was in LA, I was in Paris, I was in Berlin, but just of like that really heavy, irreverent, like party phase. Like we're all dancing to like the Rapture and like LCD and, you know, stuff like that. And it was just like, it was a heavy partying era. And like, much like now, another one that's coming back is like Coke. There was a lot of that around. It was never my thing. Mom is always just like the sauce. That's my thing. I just like to drink and not think. So I try to stay away from things that like make me more like on it. I don't need to be more on it. I need to be more off it. Like switch something off in there. Very healthy. Follow my lead. But yeah, so the Coke was a big thing. People were dancing all night. I danced every night of the week. I spent all of my money that I would make at this little bakery or whatever barista job I had, just partying, like partying every single freaking night, Monday through Friday, and then back on Sunday to be right back at it. I didn't exist during the day. And I do think that the partying is coming back. I was a little bit worried about the kids. I wasn't sure the kids were all right. It did seem, I mean, I think it's good that there's a lot of sober curiosity. And I don't want everyone coked up on diet pills at the club. But maybe like with the old money thing, I do like to see young people be young. As someone who is an elder waiter, along with being an elder millennial, I work with a lot of Gen Z people. I was going to say kids, but it's so annoying. I work with a lot of Gen Z adults who are such fun and cool and artsy and kind of creative and wild people that I don't know that we need to travel to Napa Valley so quickly. I think we should go out and just get weird with our friends for a few more years before we get into that. What else did I have here? That might have kind of been most of my gripes, if we can even call them gripes. Um, I don't know. And where do I lie on all of these things now? Like, where do I lie on JLo makeup? I guess I still want to look more oily than I want to look matte. I guess, no, I don't. I don't want everyone to be really skinny just because, yeah, I can't commit to that. Like, I gotta eat. And I don't know that I want to see the hipster style necessarily come back. It also was a very skinny time, so it relied heavily on being like I was ultra thin back then. For myriad reasons, like always working out, some kind of millennial Xennial eating disorder, plus being broke and only spending your money on partying and being chaotic and smoking a lot of cigarettes and being always stimulated. But yeah, that kind of style also was very like stand like this, show your clavicle, like, and look a little bit sick and lost and like pestilent, right? So like I'm not looking for that to come back necessarily. I think some 90s things that I would like to see come back along with the 90s minimalism would be a bit more of that, and maybe this obviously sounds like because like I'm a black person, but maybe a little bit more of like that, like Afrocentric, like Erica Badu, Lauryn Hill sort of vibe, like, you know, textures and like, different warm earth tones and just like, I mean, it's very much alive with people like Solange and my style icon always is Issa Rae. Like Issa Rae for me kills it every time. To me, that's the epitome of personal style. She puts it on half the time. If I looked at the piece of clothing, it wouldn't make any sense to me, but she puts it on. That woman puts it on. Tracy Ellis Ross, that's that 90s style I want to be seeing. That one puts it on. And that's a 90s icon right there. And again, that might be like some black bias, but listen, I reserve the right. Anyway, that's my yap for today. Take it or leave it. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it at all. It's all in good fun. And of course, I know that this happens every 5 to 10 years where someone is like, that's not what happened. And listen, it's my turn. It's my turn to be the one who's like, that's not what happened. That's not how it was. That's not what we did. Here I am, trope. Anyway, see you next time.